Hey there, ghouls. It's the Creepmas season, and I know this is a very hectic time of year for all of us, but I'd like to invite you to kick back, relax, pour yourself a hot cocoa, and let me read you a story. Every night from now through December 24th, I will read you a chapter from my new holiday creature feature, Christmas Creeps from the Deep. So tune in and hang out with me at 7 p.m. Eastern Time every night for a new chapter. Let's get to it, shall we? Chapter 5 Granny's Got a Gun. The boom shook the trailer. The fishman screeched, so high-pitched the window glass rattled in the frames. The fishman held onto the door frame, righted itself, then stepped back in. Granny hadn't killed it. She'd just pissed it off. She cocked her gun and fired again. The fish stumbled backward out the door. It landed on the pile of headless bullies on the porch, twitched for a few seconds, then stopped moving. Granny had blown a hole in the creature's chest so big Earl could see through it. Green blood poured out of the wound. The fishman lay on top of Chip, Carl, and Craig's headless bodies like a scaly white cherry on a three-jerk sundae. It was dead, like D-E-A-D, dead. Earl screamed, "What the fuck?" "You watch your language or I'll wash your mouth out with soap. Now get up and lock the door," Granny said, eerily calm. "There'll be more. Those things travel in schools." "Schools?" Earl sat up straight. "Is that why you've been buying all those bullets? We've got 3 dead carolers and a fish monster on the porch. Why are you still sitting there?" Granny said. "Lock the door." Granny didn't have to tell Earl a third time. He was up in a flash, pushing the thing's giant webbed foot across the jamb. It was heavy, with scales thick as armor and long, thick claws that looked tough enough to dig through concrete. Earl managed to push the foot all the way out. Then he slammed the door shut, clicked the bolt, and put the chair under the knob again. Not that a measly chair and a plywood door would stop one of those things if it really wanted in. Earl's brain buzzed. Bucky's big white fish scale wasn't a lie. The fishmen were real, and they were here, and even though he'd seen one, he still couldn't believe it. Granny wasn't ruffled. She was cool as a wrinkled old cucumber. She had the same expression on her face she had when she was knitting or watching her soaps. Mildly interested, mildly annoyed. She had an open box of shells on her lap and was reloading her shotgun. "Why are you still standing there? Pull the curtains, turn out the lights, and be real quiet," she said. "We gotta make 'em think no one's home. So go on then, get moving." Earl kicked into action, stumbling around the house, turning off lamps and pulling curtains shut. Granny talked while Earl worked. "Crazy things up here in the woods and in the water. The cities might be tame, but out here, humans aren't top of the chain," she said. "I swore the day those things took your daddy that I wouldn't let them get you." "What?" Earl froze. Granny told him his daddy had gone ice fishing, trying to catch them something nice for Christmas dinner, and he drowned. "You told me it was an accident." "I saw his body. I know those things killed your daddy, and now they're back again," Granny said. "Now you know the truth. Try to keep up." Earl thought his brain was racing before. Now it was doing laps. "I begged him not to go fishing, but he was stubborn." Granny fiddled with their gun. "I told him those things were out there, but he didn't believe me. I prayed he'd be all right, that they wouldn't come back, but they did. See, that year they took your daddy, that wasn't the first time they came." "How do you know that?" Earl couldn't believe what he was hearing. It was a lot to process. "When I was 10 years old, my pappy took me fishing on the lake. Nobody had money then. The whole town was poor, hand to mouth. The mines were tapped and the forests were cut bare. The whole town was desperate. The coal companies were blasting deep, too deep, in the mines trying to find new veins. I think they blasted those things out instead." Granny stared at the wood-paneled wall as she spoke, like she was staring off into the past. "We were hungry, so just like your daddy, my pappy wanted to catch something special for us for Christmas dinner. I begged him to take me, so he bundled me up in my warmest clothes, and we went fishing, hoping to load up on trout by dinner time. But there were no fish, not a single bite all day. It's like something scared 'em all away. Pappy wasn't going home with nothing, so we stayed out casting lines and hoping until the sun went down. They came at dark. Pappy was singing a song. We were laughing, then he lit his lantern, and they punched holes up through the ice. Pappy held the lantern out so he could see what was going on, and that's when they grabbed him, pulled him down under. He never came back up," she said. "I'll never forget the white scales, the giant claws. We didn't see him again until spring, when his body washed up by the point slashed to ribbons." Granny dabbed a tear from her eye with the corner of her Christmas reindeer sweater. I thought they were going to get me too, but I stayed as quiet and still as I could in the dark until they all went away. What? Earl's brain felt like loose wires. That'll happen when you suddenly find out that fish monsters were real. They lived in the lake across the road from your trailer park. They had killed your daddy and your great-grandpap, and they were back again, fixing to kill you. It was a lot for one man to take in, although Bucky's motives made more sense now. Those things were strong, tough, able to take 3 men's heads off with one swat. There's no way humans could beat those things, not if they traveled in schools. And if you can't beat 'em, you may as well join 'em. Although Earl wasn't sure Bucky knew what he was doing. That dead fish monster out there didn't look like the kind of fellow who'd want to strike a deal with a 60-year-old chain smoker who sold used porn out of a single wad. But maybe Bucky knew something Earl didn't. I've already lost 2 men I love to those monsters. I ain't losing another, so pull yourself together and follow me. And be real quiet. Probably more of those things out there. We don't want to draw any attention to ourselves. Granny wheeled down the hall, shotgun across her lap. Earl did not want to end up decapitated or ripped to shreds at the bottom of Holiday Lake, so he pulled the last curtain closed and followed Granny to the master bedroom. Her room was the same as Bucky's, except it was nice. Granny vacuumed. There wasn't any porn, and it didn't reek of Chesterfield cigarettes. Granny wheeled up to the antique hope chest she kept in the corner. I don't know much, but I know they live out there somewhere deep where they never see the light. Sometimes they come out, and when they do, they're real mad. Granny pulled out a long metal key and stuck it in the lock. They kill, but they never eat, so it isn't hunger. It must be something else that's bringing them out, making them attack. Well, what? Earl asked. What is it? Hell if I know, Granny shrugged. You knew they were out there this whole time and you don't know? Why don't you know? Why don't you have a plan? Earl had never sassed Granny like that, but panic didn't lead to good decisions. Well, I was hoping you'd figure it out. Granny jiggled the lock and the chest lid open. Me? I don't know anything. I live with my granny and I work at the mini-mart. A man's paycheck is not the measure of his talent or worth. Granny wagged a bony finger at him. You've got smarts. You know more than you think you do, she said. Why do you think I got you all those fish when you were little? We were preparing for this very day. You know fish better than anyone. You must have learned something after all these years, something that will help us get those things out of here for good. Earl thought back. Granny bought him his first fish shortly after his daddy died. She'd driven him 2 counties over to the big nice pet store. Earl picked out a goldfish, a big one with a wrinkled head. His name was Bruce. Earl crossed himself. He still missed that fish. He'd helped Earl through a lot of long, sad nights. I thought you loved fish. Blech, can't stand 'em. I get the willies every time I walk by the tank, Granny said. Earl's jaw dropped. How could you say that? You'd say that if you'd almost been killed by a giant fish man, she said. Fair, Earl said. But what am I supposed to do? Keeping goldfish is one thing. Defeating a school of scaly armored monsters from the deep is another. All I got is a baseball bat. This thing won't make a dent in those scales. Earl lifted his bat, and boy, did it look extra small. For the first time in his life, he wished he'd stuck with the baseball long enough to get a bigger bat. No, but this will. Granny turned back to her chest and lifted a shallow tray off the top, revealing what lay underneath. Earl couldn't believe his eyes. Her hope chest looked like Granny'd been hoping for war. It was nothing but row after row of neatly stacked boxes of ammo, all the ones she'd been buying, year after year. Holy shit, Earl said. You watch your language. I will wash your mouth out with soap. We may live in a trailer, but being trash is a choice. Sorry, Granny, Earl said. Here, I bought this for you a long time ago. Granny moved some of the ammo around, then lifted out a bubblegum pink shotgun. Really? Pink? Man, it just wasn't Earl's day. Still shoots. Granny handed it to him. Bought it for you when your mama was pregnant. Not my fault she didn't bother to get an ultrasound. We all thought you were a girl till you popped out and we saw your dinger. Earl tugged his collar. Right now his dinger was in a pair of teeny red satin panties. He made a mental note to change clothes first chance he got. Listen, I don't know how many of those things are out there or why they keep coming back, but one thing I do know, Granny said. After they took Pappy and they came up out of the ice again, they looked right at me with those big eyes. I didn't make a sound, and I stayed as still and quiet as I could, and then they left. It's like they didn't see me. I think they're blind. I also think they hate light. Maybe it hurts them, I don't know, but they ripped Pappy's lantern to shreds, and tonight they ripped our porch light clean off. Got me thinking. They attack bright things. Maybe they're drawn to them, like moths. Bright things? Oh, no. Next thing Earl knew, he was running as fast as he could in tiny snowman stretch pants to the window by the fish tank. He peeked through the slit in the curtain. Oh, no. Granny was right. The fishmen did travel in schools, and a handful of them dotted the gravel road that cut through the middle of Misty Pines. They were also drawn to bright things. Every one of those fish was shuffling toward Holly's place, drawn to the lights dotting her yard, hanging from the eaves, pouring from her windows. Earl could see Holly lounging on her sofa, eating cheese puffs, totally unaware of the monsters outside. She was in danger, and she had no idea. Earl couldn't have that. He held the bubblegum pink shotgun to his chest and said, "Hold on, girl. I'm coming to get you." All right, ghouls, thanks for joining me. I will be back tomorrow to read you Chapter 6.